Relief pitching has been a huge strength for this team, even through this past weekend. I was wondering if you could elaborate on some of the guys that have been doing well or seen a lot of time, like Paul Gervais, Trent Vittmeyer, and kind of what you've seen from them.
Yeah, I will, and I certainly don't want to leave anybody out because I think there's a number of guys that have made a positive contribution. The Oklahoma game really stands out, using 6 relievers to keep it at bay, to give herself a chance to come back and win that game. The Wednesday against New Orleans was another good performance by a lot of guys last night, obviously. And even when you look at Saturday and Sunday, Sunday, those guys did a good job. We just undermined it by not taking care of the ball. So, a couple guys kind of emerging, Grant Taylor and Sam Dutton as freshmen. That's certainly great to see. They got indoctrinated to college baseball pretty heavily by our offense. And so you could tell the stuff was there, but they were kind of laying in the weeds, because they got hit around a little bit. So that's been great to see. Really confident in all of those guys. Paul has been definitely a bright spot. I thought he did a great job for us last night. Trent, just very steady, has kind of been through it. You know what you're going to get in terms of his ability to compete. On the left side, I'm very confident in Riley. He's had a little bit of bad luck, honestly, in the times that he's been out there. Trey Schaefer started to fill up the zone more, so you like that. From the left side, Eric Reiselman has thrown the ball really, really well. Bryce Collins has thrown the ball really, really well. And again, I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, and I don't want to do that. But we're not even in a place where we need to pare it down right now because so many guys I feel like can get the job done.
With conference play approaching, do you have a checklist or things? I'd like to try to see this before then, or
I really look at each game, and I know this is hard to understand. I mean, I really look at each game as equal importance and what we need to do now, and there's just going to be this tasks of things that are always on our mind. Obviously, we want to play better defense. I thought last night was a great sign in that regard. No question in the talent in Jordan or Cade or Jack. Or Trey, for that matter. I think 3 of those guys are going to play in the major league someday. I really believe that. So you just kind of keep going back to work on it. Those guys are prideful guys, and they are going to respond well and continue to work. So that's obviously at the forefront. I think, pitching, because of the question that Leah just asked, we have the luxury of not having to set it up any certain way. And I think that's a strength of this team. And feel good about that. I think Coach Kelly's done a good job in getting guys kind of in their lane of what they need to do and can do. And then we've used them well. And then, offensively, it's good. Can we be better? For sure. But, if you ask me, you're 13 games into the season and you've only had 1 game where you've scored less than 5 runs, I think we'd all be very happy about that. And I think there's more that we can do to get better, and we'll continue to do that. The positive about our group is, they have showed up every day, and there's a lot of things that we need to improve on as we go, and they have the willingness to do it. So we'll just keep tackling it as they come.
What makes Gervais such a tough out? Obviously he's got great velocity, but just what are some of the other things that make
I think he throws with a lot of intent. He really believes in himself. He's throwing the ball where he wants it to, and what I mean by that is he's throwing strikes, but that aren't really easy to hit, and that's a good recipe where you can command the count because you're throwing strikes as a pitcher, but it makes it really tough to square up. And he's done a really nice job of that. I've really seen a lot of growth in him as a person in terms of his confidence, in terms of his conviction in his pitches, and that's a necessity at this level. And that's been a nice development for our team.
What's the scouting report on Bethune Cookman?
Yeah, really athletic team, really good starting pitching, at least as far as tomorrow and Saturday. They did not have a season last year because of COVID, but it's a perennial NCAA tournament team. They took Florida the Monday of a regional 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember. Well, it was 3 years ago, obviously, because 20 was COVID. Well coached. They have a lot of things they like to do on offense as far as bunting and running and all of those types of things to try to create pressure. It's a good opponent, and I think schedule is set up nicely. When you look at a team like McNeese and New Orleans, those guys will challenge for that conference championship. Tulane will obviously challenge for the American, Louisiana, and the Sun Belt. These guys in their league, so I think that works out really good for us, and I think it's a good next step in the season.
I didn't know they didn't play last year, but this makes this question even easier. Is this like your last weekend of really a tough scout? I mean, you've been scouting 2-3 teams.
It's the more you get into the year, the more it helps, because you're not searching for stuff on last year from certain pitchers that are coming out of the bullpen and those types of things. Nowadays, there's always a way to figure out something. I like the fact that, we'll find a rhythm now of one midweek opponent and one weekend opponent. That tournament thing, it's good. It's good to challenge the staff and the players, and that's a good thing. But from a coaching staff, time standpoint, I'm happy to get into this phase of it.
Does the message get more linear as well? I mean, because of that?
I don't think it changes a whole lot. Again, they all are looking forward to league play. I mean, of course, why wouldn't you? I mean, think about, the opponents on the schedule. So that's a good thing, I think, from a internal or external motivation, however you want to call it. But I think the approach, good baseball is good baseball. The right mindset is the right mindset, and so that's where we gotta keep our work towards.
What did you talk to the guys about the errors? You said that you felt like maybe they were just pressing. Is it more of just to play the game as you know it? I mean, or are there mechanical things that you can do?
It's a little bit of both. I think at some point, you get to that. It's too long of a season. There's no watershed moment that's happening, right? That's lame. I mean, for lack of a better word, it's you do the work. You get guys right in the head. You reach out and try to create, resources or development opportunity to enhance their ability to play with confidence. You coach. I mean, that's what you do. And so, it's frustrating. Like I said, I mean, if you look at it, with the 3 losses, I mean, 2 of them we probably played as bad as we could and still had a chance. I mean, I have full confidence in the 9th inning we were going to tie the game, and we were going to quickly turn the lineup back over to the guys. And now you like where you're sitting at in extra innings, and man, we gave up a lot in that game on Sunday. And so I think you turn it around, you look at it as a positive. We don't want to lose any games. I want to be the first coach someday that goes 70-0 in a season. But you can get some value out of that, and can't change it now, so we're just going to try to get value out of it.
Drew Bianco's gotten more time to kind of on the back end of some of these games. Where do you see him fitting in this future, and how is he feeling?
He's back to 100%. At least that's what he shared with me. He's a smart baseball guy, so you can utilize him in a lot of ways, and certain time at bats at multiple positions. He's a good competitor. I left him in the game the other night against Oklahoma just because I believe in him as a competitor. So I think he's right in the thick of it. I think, knock on wood, we've stayed pretty healthy. And, it's a good lineup. I mean, there's 7 guys hitting over 340 or something like that. So it's not easy to crack into, and it's no indictment on him. Or Josh Pearson's going to be just like one of these guys. Josh Stevenson's going to be just like one of these guys someday. It's LSU, and it's a good offense, and guys like Drew, you feel good about having those. Gio, have those guys right there on the cusp, and you don't drop off much if they're in there, and I'm sure at some point they will be in there.
The Tigers are currently hitting .321. What do you like about the approach at the plate?
I think they're good players. First of all, I like the talent level. I think when coming here, I think there was some skill things that needed to be developed and that will continue to need to be developed so we can advance and move forward. And that's individual, it's guy by guy. But I think the improvement, the quick improvement in mindset and approach, as you said, leads me to a lot of confidence about where we're headed. I like where we're at, but we are not nearly a finished product offensively, and some of that just comes with playing time, with experience. And I think some of that showed. I like the fact that you can go 11 for 32, score 6 runs, and still have a little bit inside you. Go like, hey, we left some on the table. There's some teams around the country where you score 6 and they're celebrating like it was a big offensive night, and that's not the case here. So that's a good thing.
Tyler McManus got the start last night, obviously with Milazzo being out. How much of an advantage is it to have like two catchers with the kind of experience they have?
Had to happen. I mean, we had to get him. We had to add to that position. We had to add to the left-handed pitching side of things. We had to add to the bullpen, and thank God for the transfer portal at this point in time.
Right now, the team is sitting at 26 errors early in the year. Can you talk about how y'all planned on cleaning that up this year? Or
Work.
for the upcoming games?
Yeah, just work. I thought last night was an excellent played game. If you didn't know the backstory of the previous couple games, then you would thought that's an elite defensive team, and that's where we want to go to.
You talked a little bit about Josh Pearson, Josh Stevenson. I noticed you've been putting them in a lot when you can at the end of the games. Like, what do they bring to this team, and how have you seen them grow?
Well, I think they're really talented. I love left-handed hitters. Like to, as we move forward, get more balance in the team that way. And I think they fit right into that mold. I think they've shown me something in the middle of getting kind of thrown into competition that it's not going to be too much for them. They have the ability to slow the game down. I think they both have plenty of physical talent in terms of bat speed. Both have really good approaches. I think this summer will continue to be key in their development. But again, those are guys, you mentioned Drew. I'd have no problem, Gio. Have no problem, starting those guys and feeling like we could win. Again, you're looking at, 2 first-rounders and a guy that was second or third in the SEC in RBIs. That's the starting outfield right now. So, that's it. Any one of them would be playing probably 75% of the time at most programs in the country. But I'm glad they're here, and I think we got good days ahead with those guys.
How would you assess the current pitching situation?
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think I'm really happy about it. I think you can kind of see it coming from the outside. When I came here, the thought was, hey man, you need to really address the pitching, and we did the best job that we could, with that, with bringing in Riley and Trey and Eric and Bryce, and then fortunately some of those young guys have come along. I mentioned Grant, Sam, and Cale Lansville is another guy I want to get on the mound more. I think he's going to have a great career here, much like the young position players. But Blake's emergence has obviously been great and well documented and talked about, as it should be. Just a lot of guys I have a lot of faith in. I think we can keep game control, especially if we control the ball, and then give us time for our offense to do what it's capable of doing. And I think that's a really good recipe.
You said last night that pitching is kind of developing quicker across the country. Is that do you know why that might be, or is that typically something that happens at this point in the year?
Good question. I think there's two sides to when you gain something, you give up something. And the reality is, the technology piece, the physical development piece, has lent itself more towards benefiting the pitcher. On the hitting side of it, you're not going to replace a hitter's eyes. They can see the ball or they can't, or just their natural ability to hit. So you can see kind of a pitcher go from here to here more than you see a position player. But I think it's just kind of where we're at. Things catch up. I think as guys have maybe what I would call sell out for arm strength or velocity, sometimes the command, goes down. So what I like about our staff right now is guys have made some significant jumps, but not sacrificing their ability to pitch. The good pitching coaches that I know, John Savage at UCLA, Gary Adcock at Cal Baptist, those guys will not deviate from the things that make a successful Division I pitcher. And those things haven't changed, but they're just now being aided by, some other development things. Whereas I think that's a little bit harder to come by in hitting, and that's why it's good to have a good plan in place so, you can say, you're going to really develop as a hitter here.